Hello, welcome to the 30k channel. I'm your host David. Welcome to this Salamanders versus Wordbearers game. Joining me today I have Mark and Alex. Good morning, gentlemen.
Morning.
Morning.
Now, really great to have these guys back. Both returners as well. I think it's your second game on the channel now for both of you, is that right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Great stuff. Really good to see these guys back. We've got an amazing Salamanders and Wordbearers forces from these two gents today. You've not played against each other before either, have you?
Nope.
No, so you're fresh onto each other. Mark, we'll start with you. Just tell us a little bit about yourself and your Wordbearers force, please.
Yeah, I'm based in Nottingham, fortunately. Lucky for me, I guess. My Wordbearers, I've been playing Wordbearers for a long, long time. I just like the lore, the whole idea of it, the original heretics. So, like some of the units, I've had lots of fun with them.
You've been playing Wordbearers long?
Since it came out.
Oh, wow, okay.
It's been a while.
Dedicated follower, that's good. Alex, tell us about your Salamanders and a little bit about yourself.
I've been playing with Salamanders probably for about 2.5 years, give or take. Yeah, I literally sort of stumbled across the colour scheme and went, I'm doing them. And about 8,000 points later, they're done.
It's a bit of a different colour scheme as well because it's quite dark green, which I think looks really great. You see a lot of bright green ones, but the dark works well.
Yeah, there's some beautiful Salamanders armies out there, but I found this scheme, as I said, stumbled across it, and I'm just, I love it. It's quite simple for me to replicate, knock it out on an airbrush, and then go in and do the details.
Perfect. It's good. And Mark, the Wordbearers are quite famous for lavishing all the scriptures and all the hexagratic wards and things like that. You've got quite a few on yours. It looks great, doesn't it? All the details there.
Yeah, it really does make them stand out. So many Wordbearer players are out there, and it is difficult to replicate, but the Betrayal of Calpha set that came out brought you a lot of transfers that made it a lot easier. Some of the vehicle detail doors really do make a difference. Yeah.
Yeah, so two really great forces here today. We've got a bit of an interesting board. It is a reused board from the last game, which was Blood Angels and Death Guard, but we're playing different mission, different deployments, so it will play completely differently. And of course, we're playing 3K rather than the 2.5, which we played last time. So totally different board and totally different armies. Gents, we've got Dominion and Clash of the Line. We haven't played the pointy deployment zones for a while. You both just managed to squeeze 3K into that pointy line.
Yeah, it's a first for me. Challenge. Sorry, it's a first for me. I've never played this deployment, so after all the games I've played, I've never played this one.
It was a bit tight. Yeah. Any reserves from either of you at all?
I've got a Anvilus drop pod coming in on turn 1.
Okay. And I'm all on the board.
Yeah, I mean the Salamanders. There's not many on the board. There's quite a lot for 3K, but the Wordbearers have got the numbers, haven't they, in this game?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Heresy is all about the troops, so I wanted to bring out a lot of troops. My last game, I went a lot down the Wordbearers, having lots of zealots and things. This time, I've not gone down those upgrades. I've gone for more boots on the ground.
And Alex, you've brought Mortificator rather, and 2 Dreadnoughts. That's going to be interesting to run, right?
I'm having some real fun using him at the moment. He's got cool rules. He doesn't make them overly difficult to play against. It just makes them a bit more of a nuisance unit. Okay,
so looking forward to that. I think we've only seen him on the channel once before, so that's quite exciting. And Mark, I was going to pick out a unit in yours. Oh, you've got the Tech Marine with the servotometer as well, haven't you?
That's correct, yeah. I stumbled across this loadout a number of years ago. It's a potent unit, it really is. So that AP3 Fleshbane really can cause a nuisance.
Yeah, it's going to be nice. And you've also brought a unit from the Mournival Events rulebook as well. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, looking through the book and the Heavy Destroyers. So my Heavy Destroyers, first outing in public. We'll see. We'll see if we get shiny new model syndrome, but we'll see. They're arriving in the Anvilus. I've gone down the Toxiferno route. Lots of poison weapons. So on paper, they look good. So we'll see how they go.
And Alex, the Salamanders are quite a formidable force, and they've, you're running the Covenant of Fire, Rite of War, and obviously they get some special rules regarding I can't remember the name of the rule, but you get a 5+ invulnerable, don't you?
Yeah. So any melter bombs, any weapons that have the melter, plasma, volkite, or flamer rule, any piece of armor gets a 5+ invuln against that. So melter bombs against my Spartan. I've got some form of save against them.
Yeah, that's going to be really interesting. But also as well, the whole army has move through cover, which is really cool.
Yeah.
And there was one other point I wanted to point out, which I really can't remember now. Oh, it was the mastercrafted on the melter weapons, so particularly the multi-melters on the rhinos as well.
They're worth their points when you can twin link them.
Absolutely. And I think earlier you mentioned that you've had a bit of success shooting flyers out the sky with some melter guns as well.
A couple of fire raptors with multi-melters from rhinos. I've got a couple of javelins at home that have got multi-melters. They've had other flyers out the sky. The reroll is huge.
Yeah, we're quite familiar with the term multi-misser on the channel and in the community as a general whole, but the mastercraft on those weapons for the Salamanders, I think, is pretty cool rule for the Covenant of Fire.
Yep.
We'll just quickly go on to the missions we've got. We've got Dominion and Clash the Line. So we're playing the pointy one, as I call it. I know it's not very technical, but and then Dominion, we've got 5 objectives on the board. And you've both been really great sports by agreeing not to put the objectives right next to the deployment zone. So you have to move to get onto that second, third turn scoring. So congratulations to both of you. I think it's in order. I think it is a bit cheeky where you can score from turn 1. You can place it right next to your deployment zone and score from turn 1, but hey, these are the rules we have, you know. I think we should get stuck into it. I'm really excited for this game. I think it's going to be one hell of a. I think it's going to be a bit of a smash, to be honest with you. Despite playing Dominion, but there's some really big units on the board, which I'm looking forward to get stuck into. Now, Mark, you won the role to deploy first, go first. Is that right?
That's correct. Yeah.
Alex, are you going to seize?
I'm going to give it a go. I want to shut that Venator down.
Excellent. Now, as always, the channel is very bad at setting this up. So we've got a dice pad. Look at that. It's terrible. Can I pass that to you? Or have you got your own dice?
I've got my own, yeah.
Oh, good man, good man. Terrible organisation there.
I'll just put it down here.
Call it out. What you got?
Nope. On a 4. It's not happening.
It was close. All right, so we are going to go into Word Bearer's turn 1 movement.
3,000 points of word bearers led by a praetor with the Child of Terror warlord trait and running no right of war. The Legion Praetor Crux Randor, armed with Artist for Armour, Paragon Blade, Iron Halo, Digilasers, has a tainted weapon, bolt pistol and the Burning Law upgrade, which allows him access to psychic powers from Biomancy. The psychic powers he knows is Warp Speed, the primary power is Smite. Leaden Chaplain Cud Sulax, Artist for Armour, Refractor Field, Bolt Pistol and has a Power Axe. Elites, Contentus Cortus class Talon, containing 2 Dreadnoughts, both armed with Power Fists, Chain Fists and extra armour. Legion Tech Marine, Artist for Armour, Bolt Pistol, Servo Arm, he's taken Rad Grenades, he has a Power Axe and he is joined with 4 servo automator with missile launchers, all armed with rad missiles. Gal Vorbak, 10 strong. The Dark Martyr is armed with Artist for Armour and paired lightning claws. 7 Gal Vorbak with bolter, bolt pistol and chainsword. 2 Gal Vorbak are armed with power axe. A Legion Rapier battery containing 2 quad mortars armed with frag and shatter shells. Legion Tactical Squad, 10 strong. Sergeant has power armour, bolter and bolt pistol. The Legionaries have no upgrades other than a Nuncio Vox. Troops Choice. A Legion Tactical Squad, 10 strong. The Sergeant has power armour, a power axe, bolt pistol, bolter. 9 Legionaries armed with bolters, bolt pistols, extra close combat weapons. There is a Nuncio Vox in the squad and they are all mounted in a Legion Rhino. Legion Assault Squad, 10 Legionaries. Sergeant has power armour, combat shield and power axe. 9 Legionaries with bolt pistol, combat shields and chainswords. Fast Attack Choice. A Legion Jetbike Skyhunter Squadron containing 4 Scimitar jet bikes. All have heavy bolters. The riders have bolt pistols, chainswords and armed with melter bombs. Heavy Support Choice. Legion Spartan, armed with quad las cannons, hull twin-linked heavy bolters and has a flare shield upgrade. Sakaran Venator Tank Destroyer with a neutron laser blaster and heavy bolter. Legion Heavy Destroyers armed in Cataphractii Terminator armour. The Ruin Master is armed with a Volokite Charger, Power Axe and a Grenade Harness. There is 1 Legionary with a Rad Missile Launcher and a Lightning Claw. There are 2 Legionaries with a Toxiferno Flamer and Chain Axe and 1 Legionary with 2 Volokite Chargers. They ride to battle in an Anvilus drop pod dedicated transport.
3,000 points of Salamanders, being led by Lord Chaplain Nomus Raitan. The right of war is Covenant of Fire, and the warlord trait is Inspiring Presence. HQs, we've got Lord Chaplain Nomus Raitan. He is equipped with a bolt pistol, a combi flamer, and Darkstar Falling. The second HQ choice is a Legion Mortificator. He's accompanied by 2 Contemptor Dreadnoughts. Each Dreadnought is armed with a Power Fist and Chain Fist, and there is a Heavy Flamer and a Melter Gun in each fist. They both have extra armour. Elites, we have a Legion Apothecary. Here's just basic bare bones, which is a bolt pistol and a chain sword. The second Elite's choice is a Veteran Tactical Squad of 5 men. Each man has a combi melter, and the sergeant has Artificer armour and a Power Fist. There is a Vexilla with this squad too. The third Elite's choice is a Fire Drake Terminator squad. There are 5 members of that. Each has a Thunderhammer and a Drakeskin shield. The dedicated transport is a Spartan Assault Tank, which has Armoured Ceramite, a Flare Shield, and extra armour. The first troop's choice is a 10-man tactical squad. The sergeant has Melter Bombs, Artificer armour, and he has a Mastercrafted Power Fist. They have a Vexilla, and every man has additional close combat weapon. They are riding in a Rhino, which has a Pintle multi-melter. The second troop's choice is a 15-man tactical squad. The sergeant has Artificer armour and a Mastercrafted Power Maul and Melter Bombs. The entire tactical squad has additional close combat weapons and a Vexilla. They are on foot and accompanied by the Apothecary. So the third troop's choice is a Flamer squad. There's 10 men in there. Each man has an additional close combat weapon. The sergeant has Melter Bombs, Artificer armour, Power Axe, which is Mastercrafted. They are all riding around in a Rhino, which has a multi-melter. Heavy support choices. The first one is a Leviathan Pattern Siege Dreadnought. He has a Cyclonic Melter Lance, Leviathan Siege Drill, and Heavy Flamers in the chest. The Leviathan also has Armoured Ceramite. The second heavy support choice is a Sakaran Arcus tank. The only upgrade it has is Heavy Bolters on the side sponsons.
Word Bearers turn 1 movement. The Anvilus arrived via Deep Strike, landing exactly where I wanted him to. The Spartans moved forward 12 inches. The Rhino behind it has also moved up 12 inches. The Contemptor Talons moved up 6 inches. The Jet Bikes have moved forward 12 inches. Finally, the Venator has moved forward into cover to take a shot later in the turn. Word Bearers turn 1 shooting. The Venator takes a shot with its neutron laser at the Arcus strike tank, scoring a single hit, penetrating the front armour 13, causing a stunned result. The Tech Marine Servo Automator fired with their RAD missiles at the Tactical Veteran Squad, scoring 2 hits, but the armour save was good enough to avoid any wounds. Quad mortars fired indirectly at the Tactical Squad in the back lines, scoring a total of 9 hits, 6 wounds, which 5 were saved with their armour and 1 on a feel no pain. The squad also passed its pinning test. End of the shooting phase, the Spartan moved flat out a further 6 inches. The Rhino also a further 6 inches. The 2 Dreadnoughts ran forward, one needing fleet to move 2 inches. And finally the Jet Bikes moved flat out another further 24 inches to get deep into the enemy area. End of turn 1 for the Word Bearers. Disappointing we didn't do more damage in the shooting phase. A hull point off the Arcus is okay, but everything else was ineffective. The plan now is to push up and start scoring up victory points later in the game.
Salamanders turn 1, the movement phase. We've started moving forward to greet the oncoming Word Bearers. The Rhino down in this corner has just moved forward 6 inches along with the Contemptors and the Vet Squad. The Tactical Squad in the middle has come forwards just a little bit. The Leviathan's coming out to have a look at that Anvilus. The Arcus has just twisted its turret slightly so that it can get a shot upon the Dreadclaw. The Spartans come forward 6 inches to see if it can shut down that Venator, and the Rhino on the far side has gone 12 inches. Salamander's turn 1 shooting phase. We're going to open with the Spartan onto the Venator. I'm going to fire the las cannons. The 2 black dice are there for cover saves that Mark will get. So we've got 1 miss, which is re-rolling. So all have hit. And now let's see what they do. We've got strength 9, front armour 13. We need a minimum of 4s. So on the cover saves, there's nothing, no damage. And we've then got 1 glance and 1 penetrating hit on the remaining dice. And on the penetrate, we've scored a 4, which becomes 5, which is weapon destroyed. So we'll roll to randomise that. We've just got the heavy bolter and the Venator. Are you happy with the Venator being 1, 2, 3?
Yep.
Or the cannon, sorry, being 1, 2, 3. So it is the main Venator gun that has gone. The next unit to fire for the Salamanders was this Rhino. As it had gone 12 inches, it was snap shooting. It opted to shoot at the Ambulance. The Ambulance did elect to jink, and as it was an obscured shot, it received a 3+ cover save. Unfortunately, the shot was failed, or the save was failed. The squad inside took 3 wounds from the explosion. However, all were saved, and the pinning test was also made. The next unit to fire for the Salamanders was the Sikaran Arcus. It was snap shooting because of what the Venator did to it last turn. It took a shot at the Terminators. It could only see 1. It only caused 1 hit, 1 wound, but the invulnerable save was made. The next unit to fire for the Salamanders was the Leviathan. Its melter gun was out of range, as were the heavy flamers, so it fired its cyclonic melter lance. It hit 3 times, caused 3 wounds, but was only able to kill 1 because of the line of sight. Some of the Salamanders have decided not to shoot this turn and have decided to get a little closer to the word bearers. The veteran squad made a massive 6-inch run move, but are only able to move 5 inches because of the Salamanders' rules. The Contemptors and their Mortificator made a 4-inch run move. So the Contemptors have gone 4, but the Mortificator's gone 3, again because of Legion rules. The last unit for the Salamanders to shoot was this Rhino with its multi-melter. It had a shot at the jet bikes. It hit, but it was unable to wound. End of turn 1 for the Salamanders. I'm quite happy with how that went. I've started to push forwards. I've opened up the Ambulance. I've shut the Venator down. And I've got my units coming out of that awkward deployment zone. So I'm looking forward to turn 2 and getting into combat with these word bearers.
Word bearers turn 2 movement. The jet bikes have moved up 12 inches with a view of assaulting the Rhino. The Galvorback, Praetor and Chaplain have disembarked from the Spartan. The Praetor has disengaged from the Galvorback unit. The heavy destroyers have moved forward to take a shot at the veterans. The Rhinos move forward 6 inches and the tactical squad has disembarked to hold the objective for next turn. The 2 Contemptor Dreadnoughts have moved forward 6 inches. The Venator has moved out of arc of fire from the Spartan. Had to take a difficult terrain test but passed. The tactical squad have moved further forward, holding the ground, and the assault squad have repositioned themselves ready for later in the game. Word Bearer's Psychic Phase, turn 2. The Word Bearer Praetor tried to manifest warp speed but was unsuccessful. Word Bearer's turn 2, shooting. The servo automator opened up with 2 rockets into the veteran squad, scoring 2 hits, 1 kill. 1 was saved by the intervening models. Spartan, using Power of the Machine Spirit, shot its quad las cannon at the side armour of the opponent's Spartan, causing 2 hits but no penetrating hits. The other sponsor-mounted quad las cannon fired at the Rhino, causing 2 hits, 1 penetrating hit, which was saved by cover. The heavy bolter snapshot, causing 1 hit, but only scratching the paint. The Skyhunter jet bikes fired the heavy bolters into the Rhino, only scoring 1 glancing hit. Bit disappointing. Heavy destroyers fired at the veteran squad. The Toxiferno Flamer scored 3 hits, 1 AP2 wound, which took out the Vexilla holder. The other 2 wounds were saved on their armour. A sergeant fired his Volokite charger, causing 1 hit. The wound was saved. Quad mortars chose to fire indirectly again at the tactical squad, this time scoring 15 hits, 10 wounds, killing 4. The Salamanders were able to pass both their pinning and leadership tests. Word Bearers turn 2, assault. The heavy destroyers declared a charge at the Legion veterans. The veterans fired Overwatch but was ineffective. The Legion Praetor also assaulted the veterans, making a mighty 11-inch charge. The Galvorback chose to charge the Contemptor Dreadnoughts, making a 5-inch charge. Overwatch was fired. Melter gun was snap-fired at the Galvorback, and one of them failed his invulnerable save, taking him down to 1 wound. The Legion jet bikes also assaulted the Rhino, easily making their assault. The combat between the jet bikes and the Rhino, surprisingly, the Hammer of Wrath was enough to glance the vehicle, causing an emergency disembark from the tactical squad hiding inside. The Praetor issued a challenge to the veteran sergeant, which he accepted. The Praetor swung in with his Paragon blade, causing 2 wounds, taking out the sergeant and one of the other veterans. The remaining veteran swung back with his weapons, causing 2 hits, but were unable to wound. The veterans were able to maintain their leadership, so the continue is tied and continues. The combat between the Galvorback and the 2 Contemptors. At Initiative 5, the Dark Martyr struck in with his rending lightning claws, initially causing 1 glancing hit, but then move on to the rest of the Galvorback. 7 Galvorback armed with chainswords swung in with 35 attacks, causing 26 hits, resulting in 2 glancing results. The Contemptor failed both the invulnerable saves, and also the Mortificator was unable to stop the wounds from the damage from spilling into the Dreadnought, taking the lead Dreadnought out.
Wordbearers turn to combat. The Salamanders Mortificator has struck back with his Corpusant Stave. He's had 3 attacks, failed to hit on any of them. The Salamanders Contemptor striking Initiative 4 managed to hit with 2 of its 4 attacks, causing 2 wounds, but one of the demon saves wasn't made, so 1 Galvorback has died.
The 2 Parax wielding Galvorback swung in with 10 attacks, causing 6 hits, but were unable to rend the Dreadnought at all.
Salamanders at Initiative Step 1, the servo arm of the Mortificator has struck out and managed to take 1 wound from a Galvorback.
The battle between the Galvorback and the Contemptor Dreadnought. The Galvorback were able to win combat, however, due to the Contemptor being fearless, the combat will continue another turn. Wordbearers enter turn 2 summary. Combat was fairly effective with regards to taking out one of the Contemptors, popping the Rhino. Little disappointed not to get the heavy destroyers into combat, and a little disappointing the Praetor. I thought he could do a lot better than just taking out 2 Marines. Shooting wasn't very effective, but we'll see what turn 3 brings.
Salamanders turn 2 movement. The Rhino has pushed up 12 inches just to get a bit further up the board. The Spartan is close behind it, but he's moved up 6 inches. Leviathan's moving a bit more into the middle, so he can cause some trouble. The tack squad next to the Arcus have just come forward, so they can give the Arcus a better line of sight on those jet bikes. The Contemptor can't do diddly squat because he's locked in combat, likewise with the Veteran, and the tack squad in front of those jet bikes has just pulled back to have some shots and give the Arcus a clear line of sight. Salamanders turn 2 shooting. The first thing to shoot was the Arcus. It opened up with its heavy bolters, took off 1 jet bike, and the launcher then fired and removed the remaining jet bikes. The tack squad in the middle decided to run forwards a grand total of 2 inches, but because they're Salamanders, they only went forward 1 inch. This Rhino was then pushed for another 6 inches of movement too. Salamanders turn 2 shooting. The Spartan opened up with 4 las cannon shots into the tactical squad, causing 3 wounds, 3 dead Marines. The Leviathan has opened up with its Cyclonic Melter Lance at the Quartus Contemptor just behind the Rhino. It managed to cause 1 glancing hit. Salamanders turn 2 combat. We've started off with the Praetor versus the lone Veteran. The Praetor's finally cut him down. The Praetor then consolidated 6 inches. Combat between the Galvorback and the Mortificator and Contemptor. The Mortificator has struck at Initiative 5 with his Corpusant Stave. He has hit twice, caused 2 wounds, but the armour saves were made.
At Initiative 5, the Galvorback struck back with the Dark Martyr's Lightning Claws and 6 Galvorback's Chainswords. Were hit a total of 12 times, but were unable to do any rending damage.
At Initiative Step 4, the Salamander's Contemptor has swung back. It hit twice out of its 4 attacks and ended up killing 2 Galvorback. At Initiative Step 1, the Mortificator has used his servo arm and taken 1 wound from a Galvorback.
At Initiative Step 1, the 2 Galvorback with power axes swung in, hit 3 times, but were unsuccessful in damaging the Dreadnought.
End of Salamander's turn 2 combat phase. I'm quite happy with the way that's gone. The Mortificator's nibbling away at the Galvorback, the Contemptor's squashing them, but it's just slow going because there's a fair few of them. The rest of the board I'm reasonably happy with. I just need to get that Leviathan to do something and get the Spartan further up with the Flamer squad.
Wordbearers turn 3 movement. The Galvorback are tied in combat, so they couldn't do anything. The heavy destroyers have moved on to the objective, even though they're non-scoring. Spartan has pivoted on the point to take a shot at the enemy Spartan. The two dreadnoughts have moved forward with a view of engaging the Leviathan. The tactical squad have stopped on the objective, scoring a very needed victory point. The Venator has pivoted on the spot, hoping to take a couple of shots at the side armour of the Rhino. And the tactical squad have moved forward, trying to get some cover for later in the game. Word Bearer Turn 3 Psychic Phase. The Praetor has successfully manifested warp speed in preparation for the oncoming combat. Word Bearer's Turn 3 Shooting. The opening salvo from the Venator was able to strip a hull point off the Rhino carrying the Legion Flamer squad. The tactical squad, completely aware of the oncoming Spartan, decided to run but only managed 2 inches into cover. The Legion Spartan opened up with its quad-las cannons, scoring 4 hits, 1 penetrating hit. However, the enemy Spartan was able to make its cover save. Quad mortars firing blind again at the tactical squad. They were able to score 10 hits, killing 1 Marine. Word Bearers Turn 3 Assault. With their increased initiative, the 2 Corvus class Contemptors assaulted the Leviathan, with Overwatch being ineffective. The Praetor assaulted the Mortificators unit with a Dreadnought in and issued a challenge. The combat between the 2 Cortus Contemptor class Dreadnoughts and the Leviathan resulted in the Hammer of Wrath was ineffective. However, the combined number of attacks, which was 10, caused 6 hits, 5 of which penetrated, resulting in an immobilization result and a hull point lost.
The Salamanders Leviathan Dreadnought hit back at Initiative Step 4 with its siege drill, and it did absolutely nothing. No hits whatsoever.
Word Bearers won combat, however, the combat continues for another turn. Combat between the Galvorback and Praetor against the Mortificator and Contemptor Dreadnought. The Praetor issued a challenge which the Mortificator declined, resulting in the Praetor not being able to attack. The Dark Martyr swung in at Initiative 5 with his lightning claws, hit 4 times but was unable to cause any damage to the Dreadnought. The Galvorback with chainswords swung in with their attacks, 15 attacks resulting in 2 hits and 1 hull point lost.
The Salamanders Contemptor has hit back at Initiative Step 4 with his 4 attacks. He got 1 hit and successfully killed 1 Galvorback.
At Initiative Step 1, the 2 Galvorback armed with power axes swung in, hit 3 times but were unsuccessful to cause any rending damage. The chaplain tried to plant a melter bomb but missed. Word Bearer Turn 3 Summary. Things are not going too bad. Managed to score a victory point this turn. Disappointed to see the Galvobot not be able to dispatch that Dreadnought, but I think the extra invulnerable save is really helping out there. The 2 Cortus Contemptors, stars of the game so far, they really need to get rid of that Leviathan. At the end of the turn, the 2 Cortus class Dreadnoughts tested for overcharging their reactors. The Dreadnought with no hull points was okay, however, the Dreadnought that got 1 hull point suffered a further hull point lost.
Salamanders Turn 3 movement. The Rhino carrying the Flamer squad has moved forward 6 inches, and the Flamer squad have disembarked from the rear of the vehicle to get some shots on that tactical squad at the back. The Spartan has disgorged the Fire Drakes and Nomus Raitan and proceeded to move 6 inches up the board to get some shots on that Venator. Leviathan can't do anything, he's still stuck there. We've got the TAC squad are moving on the objective in the middle. The Arcus has made a big 12-inch move to try and get some shots on these Terminators that are floating around the objective, and this tactical squad at the back is just holding for the moment to see what happens with these Galvorback and the Contemptor. Salamanders Turn 3 shooting phase. First thing I've done is run this tactical squad. They got a mighty 6 inches, but because they're Salamanders, they've only gone forwards 5 inches onto the objective. The Arcuses fired into the Heavy Destroyer Terminators. The main gun was only able to hit once, but was unable to wound. The Heavy Bolter that could see took aim, hit once, did cause a wound, but the armour save was made. The Pintle Multi-Melter from the Rhino carrying the Flamer squad took aim at the Venator. It did hit, It did cause a pen, but the cover save was made. The Spartan Power of the Machine spirited one of its las cannons and took aim at the Venator. Caused 2 hits, but was unable to do any damage with those hits. The Salamanders Flamer squad took aim at that Wordbearer's tactical squad in front of them. They caused a total of 28 hits, which resulted in 21 wounds. And the Wordbearer squad did fail enough armour saves so that they are now gone. Salamanders Assault Phase Turn 3. So the Fire Drakes and Nomus Raitan got out of their Spartan during the movement phase, and they have decided to charge into the combat and help the Leviathan out. They made a 7-inch charge, but because they're Salamanders, they can only charge for 6 inches. They're going into this combat to see if we can deal with these Quartus Contemptors. At Initiative Step 5, Nomus Raitan got stuck in with his hammer. He hit the Contemptor all 4 times and caused 2 glancing hits and 1 penetrating hit, destroying the Contemptor. It didn't explode, so it's just sat there as a wreck. At Initiative Step 4, the Salamander's Leviathan struck the remaining Quartus Contemptor. Of the 2 hits, only 1 went through, which did cause a penetrating hit and resulted in the Chain Fist being destroyed. So this last piece of damage that the Salamander's Leviathan caused to the Quartus Contemptor has resulted in this Quartus Contemptor having no hull points left, and it therefore becomes another wreck.
At Initiative Step 4, the Quartus Contemptor class Dreadnought swung in with a Chain Fist, hit him once, causing a second immobilisation result, stripping a 3rd hull point off the Leviathan, leaving it on 1 hull point left.
The Fire Drakes and Nomus Raitan have obviously won that combat. They have consolidated 1 inch.
The ongoing combat between the Wordbearers and Salamanders, the Praetor again issued a challenge which was declined. The Dark Martyr and the Galvorback, armed with chainswords and lightning claws, swung in, hitting 11 times, but causing 2 rending hits, but the rending hits were unsuccessful to penetrate the armour.
The Salamander's Contemptor that was still in combat with the Galvorback struck 4 times and only hitting twice. He was able to successfully kill 1 Galvorback.
At Initiative Step 1, the 2 Galvorback with power axes swung in, caused 4 hits, but were unsuccessful to actually damage the Dreadnought. The Chaplain planted a Melter Bomb, which hit, did penetrate, however the Mortificator was able to save the damage on the Dreadnought.
Salamander's end of turn 3. I'm quite happy with how that went. I've managed to dispatch the 2 Quartus Contemptors in the middle, and the Flamer squad did a little bit of work on that tactical squad at the end. So it's just keep holding on against these Galvorback.
Wordbearers turn for movement. The Assault Marines have decided to join the fight. They've used the jump packs to gain the high ground, looking at assaulting the Flamer squad later in the turn. The Sakaran Venator has reversed 12 inches over the obstacle, successfully passed a difficult terrain test. The Legion Rhino has blocked in the Salamanders, hoping to stall them for another turn, whilst the Spartan has repositioned itself with a view of taking a shot at the Arcus and using the Machine Spirit to shoot at the Terminators. The Heavy Destroyers have moved into a better position to take shots at the tactical squad on top of the hill. The Galvorbacker stuck in combat. Wordbearers turn 4 shooting. The Automator, 3 of them have opened up with their flashbane missiles into the Flamer squad, causing 6 hits and 6 kills. The Venator shot with its heavy bolter into the side armour of the Rhino, causing a glancing hit, stripping off another hull point, leaving 1 left. The Legion Assault Squad fired their bolt pistols into the Tactical Support Squad, causing 9 hits, inflicting 1 wound, killing the Marine. The Rapier Battery tried to blind fire at the Tactical Squad again, however, totally unsuccessful, scattering a full 12 inches. The Spartan used the power of the Machine Spirit, first of all to fire quad las cannons into the Drakes. 2 hits, 2 wounds, but 2 invulnerable saves made. The other quad las cannon fired at the Arcus, only 1 hit, even though it got twin linked, however, it was an unsuccessful damage roll. Heavy Destroyers fired their rad missiles into the tactical squad on the hill, caused 3 hits, 3 wounds, 3 dead Marines. The Sergeant fired his Volokite Charger, hit him once, however, the armour save was made. Wordbearers turn for assault. the Legion Assault Squad declared a disordered assault against the Support Squad and Rhino. A overwatch was fired with the Flamers, however, it was unsuccessful to do any damage. The Sergeant issued a challenge, which the Salamander Sergeant accepted. Combat between the Salamander Support Squad and the Assault Marines. 5 Assault Marines swung in with their chainswords, killing 1 Salamander Legionary. The Legionaries fought back before being killed, however, no wounds were inflicted. The 4 Assault Marines assaulting the Rhino were able to strip off the last hull point with their chainswords. At Initiative Step 1, the challenge was fought between the 2 sergeants. Both swinging in power axes, the word bearers was able to cause a single hit with a single wound, which slayed the Salamander Sergeant. However, before he died, he swung back, hit the Sergeant twice. However, his saves were successful on his combat shield. The Salamanders lost combat by 2, but successfully passed their leadership. The combat continues another round. The combat between the Galvorback and the Mortificator. The Galvorback swung in at Initiative 5, causing 1 glancing hit. However, the save was saved on the Mortificator save.
The Salamanders Contemptor fought back at Initiative Step 4 and was successfully able to kill 2 Galvorback.
At Initiative Step 1, the Galvorback Power Axe Marines swung in, but unsuccessful to cause any hits. The Chaplain tried to plant a melter bomb, but again was also unsuccessful. End of Turn 4 summary. Mixed bag, this one. We scored another victory point for holding an objective. We're able to dispatch a scoring unit close to my deployment zone. The quad mortars were very, very disappointing. However, the men of the turn were certainly the Automator this time, killing 6 Flamer Marines. Disappointed that the Galvorback haven't dealt this Contemptor to an early grave. However, the Mortificator seems to be doing a very, very good job.
Salamanders turn for the movement phase. So the Tactical Squad and the Arcus have both stayed still. We're still not sure what's going on with this combat before we do anything. The Leviathan, of course, can't move. The Tactical Squad have moved up and surrounded the objective a bit more because inevitably those quad mortars are going to come knocking. The the Spartan has pushed up and onto the hill, get some shots on those servo automata. The Drakes and Raitan have moved in to stand on that objective, but they're contemplating a charge at the Wordbearers Tactical Squad on the objective. Salamanders turn 4 shooting phase. The Sikaran Arcus has begun the shooting by firing its main cannon and 2 of its heavy bolters into the heavy destroyer terminators. It has taken 2 of them out, and more importantly, the Sergeant was one of them. The Salamanders Tactical Squad had some pot shots at the heavy destroyer terminators, causing 3 wounds, but all 3 armour saves were made. The heavy destroyer terminators had lost 2 of their members, so had to take a leadership. They did make it. The Leviathan took aim at the Rhino in front of him. The Flamers did 1 glance, and the Cyclonic Melter Lance finished it off. The Spartan decided it had enough of those servo automata and their rad missiles. It fired the heavy bolters and las cannons. The snap shooting heavy bolters managed to take 1 of the automata off, and the remaining 4 las cannons took the Tech Marine and another automata off. Salamander's Assault Phase Turn 4. The Fire Drakes and Nomus Raitan made a whopping 10-inch charge to get their hands on those Wordbearers Tactical Marines. Combat between the Galvorback and the Contemptor. Mark's Galvorback Dark Martyr struck first, but was unable to do any damage to the Contemptor. The Contemptor then swung back and managed to squish the Dark Martyr.
At Initiative Step 1, the 2 axe-wielding Galvorback were unable to do any damage to the Contemptor, and the Chaplain missed again with his melter bomb. The ongoing combat between the Salamanders Support Squad and the Legion Assault Marines. The Legion Assault Marines finally swept up the last Legionary and consolidated 3 inches.
Combat between Nomus Raitan, the Fire Drakes, and the Wordbearers Tactical Squad. At Initiative Step 5, Nomus Raitan stepped up and killed 3 of the Wordbearers Tactical Marines.
At Initiative Step 4, the 6 Marines struck in with their combat weapons, scoring only 2 hits, but the saves were made. The Sergeant with the Power Axe at Initiative 1 swung in with his Power Axe but failed to hit.
At Initiative Step 1, the remaining Fire Drakes stepped up. did the job and cleared out the rest of the Word Bearers tactical squad. They then consolidated a mighty 6 inches and are now holding that objective. Salamanders turn 4 overview. I'm very happy with how that's gone, if I'm honest. The Fire Drakes clearing that unit, moving on to an objective. The Leviathan popping the Rhino in the middle and giving me another point, potentially towards attrition. And this Contemptor is still hanging on.
Word Bearers, turn 5, movement phase. The Spartans move round to take shots at the Leviathan side armour. The heavy destroyers have moved forward to try and engage the Salamander Terminators. The Sakaran has driven backwards to shoot at the Terminators. However, the 2 Automator left have failed their pinning test, so they'll be playing no part in the game. The Quad Mortars have stayed stationary, and the Assault Marines have used their jump packs to move forward to engage the tactical squad on the objective. At the beginning of the phase, the Assault Squad scored an extra victory point for holding an objective. Word Bearers turn 5 shooting. At the opening salvo from the Quad Mortars fired into the Fire Drakes, instantly killing 1. The Venator opened up with a heavy bolter, inflicting a single wound on the Sergeant. Heavy destroyers, eager to add to the tally, fired with their rad missiles. It scattered, clipping 2 Marines, causing 2 wounds. However, both saves were made. The Assault Marines fired into the tactical squad with the bolt pistols, inflicting 2 wounds, killing 1 Marine. The Spartan opened up with both quad las cannons, hitting 3 times, causing 1 glance and 2 penetrating hits, destroying the Leviathan, taking it out of the game. Word Bearers turn 5 assault phase. The Assault Marines decided to attack the tactical squad on the objective, however, miserably failed, rolling a double 1 on a 3-inch charge. Due to a massive amount of Overwatch coming in, we lost the Sergeant on the way in. Bit of a blow. The ongoing combat between the Word Bearers and Salamanders, the Praetor again issued a challenge. However, this time the Mortificator heroically accepted the challenge. Praetor swung in at initiative 5, striking him down. 2 instant deaths, failed all his invulnerables, chopped into pieces.
As the fight was being done at initiative step 5, my Mortificator was still able to hit back. He had 3 attacks, was able to hit with just 1 of them, but was unable to wound. At initiative step 4, the Salamander's Contemptor got to strike back. He was able to hit twice, causing 2 wounds, and killed 1 Galvorback.
At initiative step 1, the final Galvorback with a power axe swung in, unsuccessfully managed to hit. The Chaplain also tried again to plant a melter bomb, and he missed again. Word Bearers turn 5 summary. Mixed bag again. Being able to take off one of the Terminators with the Quad Mortars was handy. Disappointing to see the Assault Marines fail a 3-inch charge. And finally, the Praetor showed what Praetor's supposed to be able to do and killed the Mortificator. Again, the Galvorback still tied up in combat, but I suppose that means that Dreadnought is tied up in combat. This could potentially be my last turn. We'll let the Salamander player have their final 5th turn, and we'll see what happens after that.
Salamanders turn 5 and potentially my last turn of the game. The movement phase, we've just pivoted the Arcus slightly. The tactical squad next to him have stayed where they are. The Fire Drakes with Nomus Raitan are coming for the heavy destroyers. And the tactical squad are looking at the assault squad, potentially going to fire rapid fire or maybe bolt pistols in a charge. And the Spartan has had a little pivot so that it can get a better line of sight on that Sakaran side armour. Salamanders turn 5 shooting phase. The Sakaran Arcus has opened up onto the Word Bearers assault squad. The heavy bolters killed 1 and the Arcus launcher killed a further 5. The tactical squad were the next to shoot at the Word Bearers assault squad, and they were successfully able to kill the remaining 3 Marines. The next fire in the Salamanders shooting phase was the Spartan. It fired all 4 shots into the side of the Word Bearers Sakaran, hitting 4 times but only managing to score 1 penetrating hit, of which the cover save was failed. It now has lost its last hull point and is done. Salamanders Assault Phase Turn 5. Nomus Raitan and the Fire Drakes made a whopping 10-inch charge to get into the heavy destroyers. We're now going to go into the combat phase and see what they can do. Initiative Step 5, Nomus Raitan swung in with 4 attacks. He hit with 3 of them, causing 3 wounds. However, 2 out of the 3 invulnerable saves were made for the Cataphracti, so they have lost 1 man.
At Initiative Step 4, the remaining heavy destroyer swung in with his lightning claw, hit twice, wounded once, but the save was made.
Initiative Step 1, the Fire Drakes got to attack, and they have killed the last heavy destroyer. Nomus Raitan and the Fire Drakes consolidated a mighty 6 inches after that combat phase, and they are now sitting on the objective in case we get a next turn. Combat between the Salamanders Contemptor, the Wordbearers, Galvorback and characters. At Initiative Step 4, the Salamanders Contemptor went in with 4 attacks, was only able to hit with 2 of them, caused 2 wounds, and the Galvorback managed to make both his demon saves.
At Initiative Step 1, the Galvorback swung in with his power axe, unable to do damage to the Dreadnought. The Chaplain finally managed to plant a Melter Bomb on the Dreadnought, did a penetrating hit, but the invulnerable save was made.
End of Salamander's turn 5. I'm very happy with that. I've cleared a couple of units, which might hopefully help me towards the attrition. We're now going to do a dice roll to see if we have a 6th and final turn.
Let's see if we can get a 6th turn, 4+. No, game over.
That was Salamanders versus Wordbearers, and we've laughed a lot through this game. It's been a really, really entertaining and really fun game. Gentlemen, Alex, give me your initial thoughts. Don't give away the victory points just yet, but just give me your initial thoughts.
I think it's been a really, really good game, because normally some of the games I play, you don't see units like Tech Marines with Servo Automata. You don't necessarily see like where Mark split his Praetor off from his Galvorback and went into run a standalone. So a lot of games you normally see them sticking close as a tight unit. It's quite nice seeing the Praetor run off, chop up a vet squad, and then the Galvorback struggling with the Contemptors.
Yeah, that was quite interesting, I think. Yeah. We'll come to that. I want to talk about that. Mark, give me your impressions of the game so far.
I really enjoyed it. It was a challenge, I think, from turn 1 when things didn't quite go the way I wanted them to. Well, that's this game for you. So I enjoyed the challenge. It was good. Really enjoyed it.
Good. Now, the victory points are extremely close. So if we just quickly look at the Wordbearers, Mark, you did a great job. From turn 3, turn 4, turn 5, you scored 3 victory points. So congratulations there for your Dominion objective. Alex, again, you were a bit of a late bloomer. Turn 4, you got 1 point. Turn 5, 2 points. So you're both on 3 victory points regarding Dominion. However, at the end of the game, the Salamander had destroyed 10 of the Wordbearers units, and the Wordbearers have only taken 8. So it was really close in that regard. But Alex, you do get a D3 for the attrition secondary victory point. So give us a roll.
Got 3.
That's not bad. It takes them to 5. So Salamanders 5, Wordbearers 3. I mean, I think it was a close game, although it didn't look like it or didn't feel like it. But I think it was a close game. What do you reckon?
Yeah, I do. It's all about playing to the objective. It's not just about killing troops.
Yeah.
We did a lot of that.
Yeah, we did clean up a fair bit. I'm super happy with the way it was. We both discussed things, and it was a really friendly game. That's what I think was the best part about it.
Yeah, it was really good. You got to remember, when we film games on channels, the two people don't often meet each other, and the communication prior to the game is always over Facebook Messenger, and it's hard to kind of judge people's characters. And I obviously know Mark and Alex fairly well, so I kind of knew they'd be a good match. But it's not until you actually get the people in the same room that you kind of get that vibe of each other. So I think it was a good game, a good fun game. I want to talk about a couple of things. We'll start with Mark. Those Galvorback into the 2 Contemptors with the Mortificator. I mean, that was a tough one, right?
It was, and the Mortificator kept him in the fight a lot longer than my past experience tells me. People say take a Power Fist on your Dark Martyr.
Yeah.
No, don't.
No?
No, really not. Hindsight, I think I'd swap out the 2 Power Axes for 2 Power Moles and beat an Initiative 5. It's all about getting those hits in early, and it's just a dice game. Just throw enough at the wall and it'll stick.
Yeah, I think it was tough as well. Your Meltabomb was so unsuccessful, wasn't it? And we've seen so many games where a Meltabomb just walks up to a Spartan or a Levy and just does it in one shot, but it just wouldn't stick with yours, would it?
No, the chaplain's got to go to Meltabomb school.
He does. Alex, talk to me about the Mortificator. Is it a unit you're running more often? Do you like it? What's your thoughts?
I really like them, if I'm honest. I've seen them at some events where they've got Mortificator 2 Contemptors, Mortificator a couple of Cortices. There was one guy that ran a Mortificator and 5 Box Naughts. That was really funny because keeping Box Naughts alive,
yeah, that's
they
pretty
can
cool.
be quite dangerous. You might just disregard them because they've got no invuln, they're not brilliant armour, but they can be a nuisance when they're put with a Mortificator because of those saves.
Yeah, I mean, they're still strength 10, and depending on what weapon they're wielding, it's still an AP2, isn't it? So they can still do through, any vehicle or any Terminator. So, I quite like it. It's a lovely unit. Really interesting. Mark, I want to talk about your 2 Cortis going into that Leviathan. You were so unlucky not to squeak him out in the first turn of combat. You had 10 attacks at strength 10.
Yeah.
Double armor pen.
The invulnerable saves saved him. There's no two ways about it. You can't fault a Leviathan with that ability to survive. And it took both dreadnoughts two full turns to actually finally deal the damage. Lost them both in the effort, but
Yeah, I think, Alex, your saves on that Leviathan were phenomenal. And he did the business because it got enough time for Nomas and his Fire Drakes to get in and finish off those Contemptors off. So I think it was a good move there, right?
Yeah. I wish he hadn't been immobilised, because once he'd been immobilised, him and the pair of the Cortices basically created a roadblock. I couldn't put my Spartan through there. I had to get my Fire Drakes and Nomas Raitan out, and then they're on foot, and Mark still had some stuff shooting that could be a danger to them.
Yeah. I think it was really interesting. I think the board was really interesting because it really hindered the movement of the vehicles and the dreadnoughts, as Alex has just said, throughout the entire game. So for me, we always talk about this on the channel. It's always about the mission objective. And I think today was a prime example because you both had some really powerful shooting units and some good close combat units. But I think ultimately what won you the day was the victory points tot up from your tactical squads and the tactical sports and stuff. So, we say it all the time, play to the mission, and it does work. The only comment I'll add on the end of this is Mark's dice were pretty appalling, and Alex's were just super hot today. They were so good. Mark, I know you were a bit down in the mouth sort of second turn, but we managed to pull it back though, didn't you?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, I think you expressed this in while we're all on shutdown. You do get emotionally attached to your army,
of course,
and then when things don't go right, you do feel hard done to.
Yeah.
Failing a 3-inch charge.
Yeah.
Things like that. It's tough, but it's the game.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I'm an incredibly emotional player. My heart is constantly pinned to the end of my hand when I'm playing games. It's constantly on display, and I feel the rise and fall of games so dramatically. I'm probably a nightmare to play against, to be fair, because I'm a bit up and down all over the time. But Alex, you did have some good rolls, and you'll feel no pains. Your Mortificator saves were really good.
They came in where it counted.
Yeah. And I think sometimes as well, having those saves, like Alex said, when you want them, makes the other player feel like they're getting them all the time. So sometimes it's just about that timing, isn't it? When you really want that unit to stay alive, or you really want to fail at issue or whatever. But I think they were pretty good if I'm honest. It was a good game. Now, let's have a quick chat about social media. I know, Mark, you're not on social media, that's fine. But Alex, where can we find you, please?
So my personal Instagram is heresy_fueled_ by _Prometheum.
Yes.
And we also have a club Instagram page, which is the Legion of Peterborough. We can be found on Instagram and Facebook.
Great stuff. And obviously that club is obviously based in Peterborough. I know the club very well. And you've got a lot going on there. You've got a lot of players, and you've got all different types of games as well.
We've got quite a few game systems on the go at the moment. We've had Lord of the Rings has taken off. We've got Age of Sigmar,
right.
40k. I'm trying to push some Titanicus for the moment, and then good old-fashioned Heresy.
Fantastic. And Mark, what do you got?
I play at a local club just outside Nottingham, Sanctuary Gaming. It's moved to a new venue. It's a lot better than the old church that we're in. There's lots of space. There's many gaming systems being played there, very similar to what Alex says. A mixed bag, quite a strong heresy following. They do run events. It's really worth visiting. It's open 7 days a week, 11 to 11.
Great stuff. And Essential Game is a store as well. So you can buy your hobby there, and there's
absolutely,
all sorts.
yeah. There's a bistro at the front, store in the middle, and gaming tables at the rear.
That sounds perfect.
Yeah, absolutely.
Spoiled for choice. All right, well, that's it from me. There are a ton of photos taken from this game, so please go to the Facebook page when this game has been released. All the photos will be there for you to see. Thank you so much for watching. And gentlemen, thank you so much for your efforts today. I really enjoyed myself, and I hope you did too.
Yeah, I did too. Thank you, David.
Cheers, guys. It's been a brilliant day.
My pleasure. All right, we'll see you very soon.